Hope you're having a good day. So we've got a Ficus Petersii, I guess it is. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, so I'll just call it a ficus. It is another root over rock. You guys probably notice I've got plenty of those. It is the only one I ever bought this way. It was I'm gonna show you the original picture here, and then I'll probably just throw in the couple pictures that I took when I actually had this wire on. This was actually April 10th when I put the wire on that original picture. I believe that's December 2018, and then April 10th of this year I put some wire on it. One of the first trees I got, I made so many mistakes with it. I must have repotted this thing like 10 times the first 6 months before I really read in far enough to realize you weren't supposed to be doing that. I mean, I probably exaggerated there a little bit, but I did kind of overdo changing angles and all of this. I put it here about a year and a half ago, thinking I could leave it in here for a long time. Several things have made me change my mind. One is I think I've lost this branch, which, you know, is okay other than the scar to leave behind. I'd like to, you know, there is, just the other day there was leaves hanging on here, but now there's not. And then as I've just been kind of watching it, I've noticed some ladybugs on it, and ladybugs are not a pest, you know, for the tree itself, but usually what that means is that it's eating some other pest. And then I picked off a bunch of scale. I also just kind of, you know, when I first put it in the pot here, this was not, you know, hanging over the edge there, so it's, you know, it's growing, and it got too big for the pot. I made a mistake. I tried to, I think, squeeze it in here too much. And this pot also has a lip on it, and that is one thing that I'm just going to avoid getting from now on, no matter how inexpensive or, you know, nice the glaze looks, you know, whatever it is. If it's got a lip on it, I think I'm going to stay away from that. Just, I've had some repotting issues with that. I'm going to prune it and take this wire off. It's been about 3 months. And then I've got 2 or 3 other pots in mind for it out there, but first thing I'm going to do is get it up out of here, see what it looks like. The other thing I have noticed too is that it's not really draining all that quick when I water it. I do have it in the pure bonsai soil, but it is the less expensive version of it that I used to get, and now I have switched to the other kind. Starting to understand why people don't like that turfus in there or whatever, but either way, that's all a personal choice and the area of the country you live in. Alright, so I'm going to start pruning it here. I'm going to leave some length on some of these branches that are getting super long, because you know, if I was going to rewire it, I would be able to get some bending out of them, but I probably will pull all the leaves off. So, you know, I'll be cutting like the longer tips off and then taking the leaves off. Usually I haven't been taking all the leaves off before a repot, but I will on this one here. And now I do see this one piece of scale left on here. And it's a long story with my eyesight. I don't really know if you guys can see that or not. It's a little bump on the branch there. Usually won't, you know, usually scale by itself won't kill a tree, but it does attract other pests. It attracts the ants, which will then bring in aphids if they come in. Aphids don't usually attack ficus too much. The things I have the most problem with on ficus is actually thrip. I don't like to use insecticide, but I will use a little bit every now and again when ficus get thrip, just because they're really hard to get rid of. But this one has not had a problem with thrip. hope I can just leave it in there for quite some time. You can see it's popping an arrow root here. Got one popping out there. A little bit coming down through here. It's a good thing this camera runs off batteries, because I didn't realize my power was out there for a few minutes, but thank goodness it came back on before it got too hot in here. But now I'm going to just see what the roots look like. Like I said, I got a few pots in mind for it. Just kind of come down to what I find in here. I don't really remember. I was looking through some of the pictures that I do have of when I did repot it, and I must have not taken very many that day or whatever, because I don't really remember what was there. But first I gotta just check to see if it's going to be a big struggle or if it's going to be somewhat easy. It looks, well, looks like the rock's giving a little bit, but not the tree. So I think it's that one root that I was showing you was kind of overlapping the pot here a little bit. And it does. Look to be about it. I don't think anything up front there is holding it, so I'm going to keep coming from back this way. Well, now there's definitely something else holding it in there. It's been since March of 2020. I'm going to have to get something stronger than that. Yeah, so this side's loose. This side, I did get the back side out. Looks like this root, even though it kind of looks like it's wrapped around the rock there, I think there's some going towards that lip. I've got a butter knife. It's a little bit stronger than the other knife I was trying to use. I wonder if that's the lip or that's something else. And you know, this is the side of the pot here as well that I noticed wasn't really draining all that well. So maybe if I just dig some of this substrate out. Well, it doesn't seem to be roots. Yeah, I think whatever I just did there, I actually feel it kind of loosen up when I did that. So let's see. There we go, it is loose now. I think now it is going to be a better idea. I was going to try to just lift it out of there and throw all that used soil away. Actually, when I say throw all that used soil away, this tree, like if a tree dies on me, I will throw the soil away. Had a cutting, it's a ficus cutting that I noticed had a ton of nematodes because I let it anchor itself in the ground, and I pulled it up, tried to remove all the nematodes. This was before just before I started doing my channel here. Tried to remove most of the nematodes and put it in the pot, and it still died. Nematodes are, I don't know, that's something new to me. And so yeah, I threw that away. But this one here with a little bit of scale, I won't throw it away. I won't reuse it for like this tree or whatever. I'll use it for cuttings and things like that. I just kind of keep a couple nursery pots laying around with some old soil in it for things like cuttings and everything. Should. All right, let's see. Have to get that out of the way. a good mat of roots there. Kind of one of the downfalls of doing the root over rock is that you can't really aggressively root prune to get that flat root spread unless you're going to get it in like a huge pot, but then that kind of defeats the purpose of the aesthetic of the root over. Like if you were going to put it in a big oversized pot, big flat pot, that you could still see the root and let it grow radially out. Yeah, you see a couple long roots. That was actually what was anchoring it in mostly. And this corner here, and let's see, I think that one actually does start. Well, that one actually starts from back here. It's got a little root that was most of the problem there. So, of course, going all into the screen there. That'll definitely be root to get rid of. This stuff here, I'll get rid of that. So all in all, root system actually seems pretty healthy. This is the, somebody, can't even remember who it was, on one of the Bonsai forums or whatever, had argued with me that I said all of my root over rock were over coral rock. And he was trying to tell me that it's not coral rock. Well, this is not coral rock. I have no idea what this is. Like I said, I bought this from the nursery this way. But, you know, I live in Cape Coral, and all of those rocks that I use are that's just where they made these, where they built these houses in the 80s, and they just basically took and left all the coral rock and everything right in the yard. Some people line their driveways with it, line their gardens with it. This place here was a dump when I first moved in, especially the yard, and it just had a bunch of rocks laying around. And that's actually why I have a lot of root over rock. I don't really have anything else to do with it. These two look like they're grown together, and I don't think I'm going to do a whole lot of work to separate it much. Just prune it up a little bit so it'll rest in a new pot a little bit better. I think that's about all I'm going to take out there. I can see this was a spot here, and you know, when I even originally repotted it, I probably did not even take out that original pine bark mix they had it in, and that was like one of those problem drainage spots. Doesn't have a super grip on the rock. It never really did. I think that's why they had it on clearance there that day I bought it. But now that I cleared out all that old pine bark that was gripping there, it looks alright. Not really all that certain what you guys can see because I just kind of show the camera. Sometimes when I look later on, I'm like, holy cow, you guys, that camera picks up a lot more than I think it does. I remember when HD first came out, you could start noticing that some of the, like even the news anchors and everything, weren't quite as good looking as they thought they were once they were in 1080. Anyway, yeah, so I've taken off enough now. It's actually a little loose on the rock. I don't, I mean, just because this is a unique rock from anything I've ever had, I don't want to take it completely off. It's shaped around it right. Plus, if I was going to take it off, I'd have to flatten that out somehow. That might not even work out with the health of the tree or whatever. So I'm going to take a pause here and clean all this old soil out. Make room for some new stuff. get rid of this old pot. Right. So I think I got a pot picked out for it. I was going to use this one. I thought that would have made a nice little contrast with the color of the rock there. And another white one that was way too deep. And then I got this one. It's funny, it kind of matches the rock color a little bit, which, I mean, I kind of had it sitting in there and thought it looked pretty good. But it's one of the only ones that I have that's actually shallow enough of what I was looking for and wide enough. This corner of the rock was not going to fit into that round one I had there. So I already have the screens in there, and I've already got just the thinnest layer of soil. I don't want it sitting up too high in here. The idea here is I'm not trying to get this to grow and grow and grow or anything like that. Really just want to keep it somewhat tamed in this pot, or in wherever I haven't. And there we go. And I guess since I already got this knife all dirty before, I'm going to go ahead and use that to kind of get that in there a bit. That thin layer of soil on the bottom I didn't have any on, but I did have just a little bit of systemic I mixed into this, just in case any. I said I don't really know where scale even come from, where they originate from. I have heard that they lay eggs and things like this, so. And I'm going to get it back on the Lazy Susan, take one last look at it. Keep this guy protected for a few weeks until it starts getting some leaves back on there. When the leaves get back on there, it should start to secure itself in here. So that first few months I had it, I repotted it a few times, and it never really even seemed to slow down. I even repotted it in January, which even down here you really shouldn't be doing, but already, sometimes with the before and after, it's hard to tell, but I already feel like this side's pointing way up compared to what it was with the wire on there. But now that I got some length on these, might be able to kind of get that down and kind of get that down a little bit too. I think the pot's just about the right size for it. If it was a little bit of a lighter glaze on there, kind of would have contracted with the right rock a little bit better, but I still think it's good enough. Pretty sure I'll leave this side as the back side and have that side as the front side. Thanks for watching.